Welcome to Argonne National Laboratory. Today, in today's program, we're going to be talking about medical isotopes. What are medical isotopes, you ask? Well, medical isotopes are radioactive elements that doctors use in the diagnosis and treatment of various illnesses, including cancer. To unpack what medical isotopes are and what role Argonne plays in their production, we've invited the program manager and deputy program manager of Argonne's radioisotope research and production program to the program today. Without further ado, let's welcome the deputy program manager, Dave Rotsch, to the program. Good morning, Dave. How are we doing?
Good. How are you?
All right. So my first question, a couple of softballs for you. What is an isotope and how are they made?
All right. So isotopes are just parts of naturally occurring elements. A radioisotope is a unstable version of that isotope. So there's several different isotopes that are available that we can actually either produce or occur naturally. Here at Argonne, we are taking natural isotopes and then converting them into radioactive isotopes and then purifying them and making them available for the medical community.
And what are the various uses for these isotopes?
Well, in the medical arena, we can use these to diagnose and treat illnesses. Right now, we're really interested in the cancer aspect of this. So what we can do, if we come over here, we can make these isotopes and put them into some sort of a pharmaceutical drug where we take our radioisotope, we coordinate it to our happy little fiddler crab here, which represents a chelate, connect this to some sort of a linker, and then a biovector represented here by like a protein. This construct can be injected into the body and seek out different cancers. So for example, here we have a patient who is suffering from metastatic prostate cancer. We have a diagnostic isotope that's been attached to that radiopharmaceutical drug that's been injected, and you see all these red dots, or the black dots, I'm sorry. Those are cancer sites. And after some treatments with a therapeutic radioisotope, you can see that the cancer is in full remission. That's the type of exciting things that we can do with these isotopes.
That is exciting, and actually you took my next question out of my mouth when I was wondering how doctors use these isotopes. So I'll jump to the next one, which is, in the case of cancer, how do isotopes help doctors treat cancer? But aren't radioactive elements damaging to tissue?
Okay. So everything in moderation, right? So radiation has been linked to some cancer, but if we use it accordingly and properly, we can actually treat cancer. So in the case of a diagnostic isotope, that's injected in a very small quantity, and the emissions that are coming off of these radioisotopes go directly out of the body, and then you have a camera that is surrounding you. Think of like an MRI or a CAT scan. Same idea, but instead of those instruments interacting with your body, something inside of your body is escaping, and then we're detecting these in a 360 array around you, so we can pinpoint exactly where these cancers are. In the case of therapeutic, what we end up doing is we look at the linear energy transfer of these emissions that come off. And the range inside of tissue is very small. So if we can isolate these radioisotopes near or on the cancer site, then we provide a cytotoxic dose specifically to that cancer, largely sparing healthy tissue. Further, radiation plays a lot more impact on fast-growing tissues than it does on slow-growing tissues. And cancer is, of course, a fast-growing tissue. Slow-growing tissue is typically more healthy cells.
That's perfect. So we talked a little bit about how isotopes are made, but my specific question for you at this point is, how does Argonne make isotopes?
So we have a couple different ways of making isotopes here at Argonne. We have our low-energy accelerator facility, where we accelerate electrons, and then these can be broken down into photons. Those photons then interact with a stable element, and then we knock off particles. So for example, if this ball represents, let's just say, zinc, what we can do is irradiate it with our photons, knock out a particle, and now this has essentially become something else. It's a lot like alchemy. So we're transferring zinc into copper here, and then the copper is what we isolate from the zinc, and we can send that off to medical researchers and doctors so that they can create these life-saving drugs and medical practices. We also have Atlas. Atlas is Argonne's tandem linear accelerator. And there we can perform research and development on new and exciting radioisotopes that are not available elsewhere.
Excellent. So what we're going to do right now is going to take a little segue, but I do want to recap for those who are just joining us what we're talking about today. We're talking about medical isotopes. How are they made? How Argonne plays a role in their production? And we were just talking to Deputy Program Manager Dave Rotsch about what isotopes are, and he even brought in alchemy a little bit. And if you're not familiar with alchemy, this is a medieval practice at that time trying to create elements, well, trying to create gold, essentially. Take other elements and create gold. We're not doing that here. We have better technology for doing that, let me just say that. But we're not creating gold, we're creating life-saving isotopes that doctors use to diagnose and treat various illnesses, including cancer. Now, to come back, I want to talk to Kawtar Hafidi, who is the program manager of the program, so we can get a little bit more of a 50,000-foot view about Argonne's medical isotope program. Welcome to the program, Kawtar.
Thank you.
So, just real quick, my first question for you, actually I have a couple of questions for you. The first one is, how does Argonne get into the business of producing isotopes? So that's one. But the other one is, what isotopes are you creating here? And what's the process by which they're created?
So Argonne has a long history in, of course, nuclear energy and nuclear physics. And since the 70s, we have been producing those medical isotopes. And since that time, we built the facility that we are using now. Of course, it's many new versions of that facility. So we have a long history of know-how, of expertise. And this continued until in the last 10 years or so, NNSA gave us new funding to do research on molybdenum 99. The goal of that research is actually to help industry produce that isotope with low enriched uranium, because highly enriched uranium is not something we would like to continue doing. So we have a strong team working on that. We have capabilities in radiochemistry, in accelerator, and this is all our important element to allow us to be in the business of isotopes. So we leverage all the existing expertise that we have at the lab in terms of accelerator physics, radiochemistry, simulation, computing, and we wanted to contribute to this important field of saving lives. So there are many ways of producing isotopes. Actually, the production of isotopes and also R&D is an important program at the DOE labs. So basically, you can put them in two categories. One is using accelerators like we have here in LEAF. Of course, LEAF is unique because it's a photon accelerator. It's an electron accelerator which produces photons. But there are other accelerators at Brookhaven National Lab and at Los Alamos, where they use also protons to produce isotopes. And also other technology is using reactors like we have in Idaho National Lab and also Oak Ridge National Lab. So you can see that this production usually, especially for new and exciting isotopes, it really requires heavy instrumentation, expensive one, and also highly sophisticated and trained workforce.
So my next question is, and we don't have to talk specifically about this, but if you want to get at a general idea of why is copper-67 an ideal isotope for cancer therapy?
Well, so historically we had isotopes, either they do a diagnostic, which when we go do a heart test, cardiac test, we have isotope used for that, or used to actually try to treat cancer. What is new about copper-67 is it's both can emit particles that are detected to detect the tumor, but also can emit particles that would kill cancer cells. So it's called theragnostic for therapeutic and diagnostic, sorry.
So you're essentially transforming an element into another. So Dave mentioned that this was kind of like alchemy, that medieval practice, trying to, using the philosopher's stone to create gold. So what types of facilities are being used to create isotopes? And we talked a little bit about LEAF a little bit ago.
So Argonne has a unique capability to add to the lab complex. And there is, as I told you, there are accelerators, but these accelerators are proton accelerators. Argonne has two unique capabilities. One is electron accelerator. So from electron, we produce photons, and those photons will interact with the stable atoms to produce radioisotopes. And then the other accelerator we have, which is actually the low-energy nuclear physics user facility in the nation, Atlas, which is the linear accelerator, we can do R&D, because this is mainly research for nuclear physics. However, we can use few hours during the year to do R&D and try to produce new isotopes using light, like lithium, light ions, low energy light ions. So those are nuclear reactions. So in what Dave described, you can kick out electrons, which is simple, but you can also produce new elements by kicking out protons and kicking out, 2 protons, alpha particles. So that's what we have using Atlas.
So very unique capabilities here at Argonne. And my last question for you, Kawtar, is what's novel about this? Why is it important?
Well, it is important and exciting and new because they are, using isotopes, being able to create molecules that will go and, first of all, the biomedical industry is an important component to this, radiopharmaceutical, because it's nice to produce isotope, which we do. However, hand in hand, as Dave described, you need that claw that grab into that isotopes and don't let them go in the body. And we need also the vehicle, the target that will go and stick only to the tumor. So this is really novel. Usually we use accelerators to go and radiate with proton therapy tumor, but in that case, there is a lot of damage because we don't know exactly where the proton stops. But this is really a mini war. It's a war that we go and target those tumors and then make little bombs to kill the tumor without putting much damage to the other tissues. And the clinical studies really are very promising, especially in stage 4 metastasis cancer.
So very novel, very new. What I want to do is bring in Dave to round out more of our conversation. But the novelty, as Kawtar and Dave explained, the fact that you can have something that directly targets, we're not talking about, if I understand correctly, killing healthy cells along with the non-healthy cells, right?
So a good analogy of this is think about chemotherapy. Chemotherapy is nondescript. It's going to kill anything inside your body. That's why we have all of these poor side effects, the hair loss, the feeling poor. If we can create something that specifically targets the cancer and largely spares the healthy tissues, that's really, really exciting and a big win for medicine.
So one of the things that we talk about at Argonne is science at scale. That's right. It's how we work with teams within Argonne and teams without Argonne to produce scalable science. So talk about the importance, and this is for Kawtar, talk about the importance of working with companies and how this helps us scale up our discoveries.
So, the Department of Energy is a place where we create a lot of technology. And the role of the labs in general is really to strongly make a difference in our economy, create jobs, and give the U.S. the competitiveness edge. So we are leading. We know that the leading in technology is the leading in the world. So part of our job always is to keep in mind, once we have a level of technology development that it's ready to move to industry, we do that all the time. There is nothing different for medical isotope as well.
Okay. So this next question will be for Dave. What role does the DOE isotope programs, NIDC, play in this process?
So the NIDC is the National Isotope Development Center, and this is where interested parties can go to find out what the DOE isotope program has to offer. There's different isotopes that are available for sale that have been produced at the national laboratories or have been stockpiled that can be given, or not given, but sold to customers through the DOE isotope program. This program also sponsors significant research and program development and the workforce that is required to perform this work and make sure that these medical isotopes and other isotopes are available to the wider user community.
And I'm going to come right back to you, Dave, with this question. Is it just you working on this program? Or are there other people?
No, absolutely not. I'm not the only one. This is a huge program that requires a lot of work from a lot of different disciplines. For example, we have chemists working on this. I'm a chemist. We have physicists. Kawtar is a physicist. We have nuclear engineers. We have chemical engineers. We have industrial engineers. We have beamline scientists. The list just keeps going on and on. It's a multidisciplinary area of work, and we need all these key players to make sure that this program is working optimally.
You need as many people, as many irons in the fire as possible to make sure that this works. And Kawtar, I'll come right back to you. One of our last two questions is, talk to me a little bit about it. We were talking about R&D earlier. So is this the only facility Argonne has to produce isotopes? And we talked a little bit about Atlas previously, if you want to go right back over those.
So again, this isotope program is a national program, and the Office of Isotopes coordinates this and work with the community and with the nation to define strategies. All the capabilities we have in National Lab are at the service of the program and the nation. So we are very careful not to be redundant in building the same capabilities everywhere. So we have been strategic. For example, Argonne was able to join the program because we have these unique capabilities that is complement to the existing program. The LEAF, which is the electron accelerator, and also the low energy ion accelerator, mainly light ion that we have in Atlas. So we use also Atlas to do R&D, to produce other exciting isotopes. And let me remind you that these theragnostic isotopes are really unique because it will allow personalized medicine. So once you make the dose to the patient, you can actually in situ do imaging and see if the treatment is working or not, instead of chemotherapy, doing this for 6 months and then coming back and it's not working. So this is really the medicine of the future, to be really able to personalize it. So going back to our capabilities, Atlas is, as I said, again, it's a low energy nuclear physics user facility. Everybody throughout the US and the world come and do experiments in nuclear physics. However, we have some modest amount of beam time that we can use to do exciting R&D, and we use that to produce, to try to produce new and exciting isotope like astatine-211, for example.
For my last question, I believe Dave or Kawtar, you can take it, and you touched on it a little bit, Kawtar, but what is the future? So, as I understand it, correct me if I'm wrong, isotope production at Argonne has been going on a little, probably mid-70s, late 70s, is that correct? Yeah. So, what are we looking forward to the future? What can we do?
So, you know, everything we said today shows you the potential of these radioisotopes, and the community understand the importance, and they are eager for us to be able to produce the isotopes needed with the quantity needed and the purity needed. So that's, once we do that, then the clinical trial will continue and will progress, and we can hopefully quickly introduce this in the treatment. So producing the isotope is one of the things that hold up this, because it's hard, it's a lot of R&D. So the future, of course, I can see, unfortunately, I don't want to say bright for R&D, but cancer is not a bright thing to do. But for us, as I told you, the office that manages the isotope program, you know, they have strategic planning, and they try to enhance the capabilities that are existing. So, for example, there are new projects, upgrade in Oak Ridge National Lab to produce stable isotopes. So we hope that Argonne in the near future will be also able to enhance our capabilities in terms of accelerator and also radiochemistry treatment, and that's what we hope for. And if we are successful in producing interesting isotopes, there is no reason not to expect this bright future.
Well, that's all the time we have for today. I want to give a big thank you to Dr. Kawtar Hafidi and Dr. Dave Rotsch for joining us. They are the program manager and deputy program manager of the Argonne Radioisotope Research and Production Program here at Argonne. We talked about a lot of things today, but mainly the takeaway you should have is both of these people are doing things that are literally can save lives. We're talking about producing medical isotopes that doctors use to diagnose and treat illnesses, including cancer. They had a fancy word for it. I think it was called theragnostics. They're the experts. I'm not. But I do want to thank everybody for coming on this program today, and you have a great day.